Welcome to 30 Minutes of Faith. We're very happy today to have Moe Mohanna with us, who is a friend and a great doer in our community. We are honoring Moe later in May at our Power of One event as one of the true faith leaders in our city. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, John. Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us where you were born and raised.
I was born in Iran, city of Tehran, the capital, in 1950. And I was raised in Iran. I went to school in Tehran, a private school, and till I was about 17 years old when my father sent me to Oxford, England, to go to school.
And were you living in a happy home and city and life was good?
It was very good, John. It was very good. I was blessed that my father was a landowner. We come from a 600-700-year-old family, so we were privileged. We had servants, we had gardeners, we had beautiful gardens and homes and houses and cars and things like that. So I was brought up in a very privileged community and connections of my father. And we have in Tehran, we have Mohanna Street, we have Mohanna intersection.
Oh, fun.
So it's a very well-known family in Tehran.
Were you raised in a religious home?
My mom was not religious, but my father was a very spiritual person, and he was a religious man, yes.
Now, I know your mother is still alive.
Yes, she is.
Is your father?
No, he passed away, and he's buried on Mount Vernon in Sacramento.
Oh, that's just a couple of blocks from where I live.
Yeah.
What about, did you understand your heritage and what your life meant, growing up, or did it not really matter?
Well, John, when you're young, you want to do what your parents want you to do. You are not Mohammed, you are rather a son of Mohanna family. And of course, my father had good wishes for me. He sent me to Oxford. He wanted me to become a full man, educated. And so when I was young, 17, 18, I left for Oxford. I went to Oxford City and going to the school and classes and things like that.
Did you play as a boy? I mean, we had a dog, we rode our bikes, we chased around. What did you do as a boy?
Yeah, we had dogs, even though dogs are not very popular in our culture, but we had dogs and we used to chase around. We used to enjoy girls and neighborhoods and causing problems, and I was causing a lot of problems at the school.
Way to go, you were a good boy.
Really.
How did you make your way to the United States?
John, I had some really difficult time in Oxford. The discipline, the way of education, I could not speak a word of English when my father sent me there. So I used to cry, and I was young, I was away from my friends, my family. I had to cook for myself, I had to shine my own shoes, I had to iron my own clothes. It was difficult. So I had a very difficult year in Oxford. It was just miserable. And the weather is cold, the food is strange, the people are not as friendly as some other people. There's a lot of discipline in Oxford. I was just not cut out for that culture and that discipline. So I just wanted to leave, I just didn't want to go to school. I had a friend that we used to do karate together, sports. He was an Italian guy, full of life, friendly. And I went to Italy with him, and that was the end of Oxford.
And karate continued for a while?
It did.
That's a nice discipline.
It is. I enjoyed it. I was good at it. It didn't need any English. It didn't need any Italian.
That's well said.
I used to just do very good. My speed was good. My concentration was good. Whether they were Italian kids or British, I used to take them on. I used to handle them pretty good. We built some real great friendship in Italy. I continued karate in Italy, and good food, wonderful people, nice girls, beautiful weather, no rains. And so I was in Italy for several months, just doing nothing, simply enjoying life.
Just hanging out. And so then how did you then eventually make it to the United States?
I kind of was forced to come to US. My father discovered that I'm no longer in Oxford. I used to send my letters from Italy to Oxford, and from Oxford they used to mail it to Iran. So that went on for a while.
You were a typical boy.
Typical, very creative, John, very
Yes.
creative. And when he found that out, he cut my money, my allowance. And and in Italy you can't work. If you're a foreigner, you're an immigrant, you can't work. And and he's told me very simply, come back home. You have shamed us. You have failed us. Come back home. And I remember, John, I was crossing the bridge across from St. Peter's, Vatican City. There is a river, there's a bridge. I was there. And I said, do I want to go home as a failure? Or do I want to do something with my life? That was a turning point for me. And I said, I really don't want to go home.
How old were you?
I was 18.
That's good mature thinking.
Yeah, it came to me at that age. And I always remember about America. My dad used to read about Constitution in Farsi. We used to remember the words at the bottom of a Statue of Liberty. Give me your poor, give me your hunger, give me your huddled masses. And I said, what is that country? What is that? That you can make your own destiny, you can work, everyone is equal. And I said, I want to go to America. So my mother sneaked in a very cheap ticket, ice landing, and I took that plane and I came to America with probably, I don't know, maybe $80, $70 in my pocket.
And did you find work right away?
Oh yeah, John. I'm pretty creative.
You're not afraid of work?
No, I think.
Well, you said your father's buried here in Mount Vernon, out in Orangeville. How did you get them to come to America?
Well, during the revolution in Iran, they came to visit us. My mom and dad came to visit us. I was a businessman by that time. I was doing subdivisions, I was doing land development. My father enjoyed it, and the revolution happened, so they ended up staying. And my father got ill. He went back to Iran to take care of his wealth and his properties and so forth, and he got very sick. He came to Vienna for operation. He passed away. I made arrangement for his body to come to America. I wanted him to be with us here.
Vienna is a beautiful city. Is that just a good hospital, good doctors there?
And my sister lives in Vienna. My sister lives in Vienna. There's a good professor there that would do that type of cirrhosis of liver. He died from cirrhosis of liver, even though he never drinks in his life, never drank.
A friend of mine died just the other day of lung cancer and had never smoked.
Yeah. Well, my dad had a blood transfusion, and the person who gave him blood when he was young must have been into alcohol or something.
And is your sister still in Vienna?
Yeah, she is.
Do you have other brothers and sisters?
One brother in Sacramento.
Nice family.
We are blessed, John.
Nice
we
family.
really are.
Now, where did you and your wife meet?
We met in Los Angeles. She was working as an architect in Los Angeles. She's a good student, #1 student of the entire Iran, architecture school. And so through some family and relatives, we found out that she has come from Iran. And so I went and met her.
And she's been battling some health problems lately, but is making her way through?
Yeah, she's, with your prayers and Sister Libby's and other friends, she's pulling through. She's doing good.
And you have 2 lovely daughters.
Really beautiful.
They're really, really. The other night at the function we were at, I sat next to your daughter, and she did a lot of laughing.
Yeah.
She seemed very happy and taken by all of that. When did you decide to come to California?
I finished my College of Engineering in Boston as a civil engineer, and at that time I was 24 years old, and I had bought 7 homes in Boston.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, I started buying homes when I was 22 years old. Fixer-uppers, beat-up homes in bad neighborhood, cheap homes, fix them up, rent them, and so forth. So I sold my homes, and I wanted to go to a state that was more progressive, more into land development, and so forth. So Boston is difficult if you are not connected, if you are not a strong Italian family or Irish family or things like that. It's hard. But in California, I came, I visited. My English professor said, "Go west, young man." And
Good advice.
my brother was in Sacramento at the time. I came to Sacramento.
Well, we're glad you did. Now, before we talk more about what you're doing in Sacramento, what are your hobbies and what do you do with spare time if you have any? And what are things you like to do to just relax and rest?
Well, John, when I was younger, I used to do karate, I used to do parachuting, car racing. I mean, things that all normal young people do. But then as you get older, you find enjoyment in other things. So I've kind of matured to stay away from cars, and I love fancy cars and beautiful cars and classic cars and things like that. I own a lot of fancy cars, But as you grow up to be a man, you kind of learn that you got to change your hobbies and habits, and I get satisfaction in other things now.
When was the last time you jumped out of an airplane?
It was in Boston. It was in Orange. There's a city, Orange, Massachusetts, and this was, I think, 72, 73. And and then I put it aside. I mean, it's just crazy. But the people that I used to hang around with, they used to race to die first, and I kind of didn't want to have that life.
That's a good way to say that. I've never jumped out of a plane, but I hear people say the first time you jump, it just is just the rush of your life. Did it feel that way to you?
It is, John, it is. But you're so crazy that you just think there's always more excitement. You're always looking for more excitement. You don't think that this is the last one. So I kind of, it was a dangerous sport.
Now, you and I have come to know each other the past several years through Interfaith and through the village over on North C Street, the work you do with the homeless and the poor and those that aren't quite as fortunate as the rest of us. How did you come to that? Just wake up one day and say, I ought to go find something to do?
No, John, a lot of people have asked me that question because, I'm involved with clean and sober. I never drink. I'm involved with a lot of things that I personally don't have experience. But the experience that I had in Boston, though, when I was a janitor, that was my first job. It was in an alcoholic house. It was at Volunteers of America. And I used to see my Irish friends throw up a lot. I used to see and witness devastation of drinking. And my boss used to tell me that you don't let anyone from the front door at 10 o'clock. We had a curfew, and it's snowing. But he never told me what to do for the back door. So it is life-changing when you shovel the snow and you hit some person that you hit his arm, and he's buried under 2 feet of snow just because 10 o'clock came and he couldn't come in. So I began to take the law in my own hand and make my own judgment. And so that experience of Volunteers of America, alcoholic house at 18, 19, coming from Iran, coming from that comfortable life, I think that had something to do with me. It was in my grain. So after many years of success, I bought a building on North C Street. And then a year later, Loaves and Fishes began their work there. So that is where our culture...
The early 1980s.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's a good work you're doing, brother.
Yeah, we are
That's
proud.
a good work.
We are proud of it, John. We really are blessed.
Now, your mother is still living in Davis?
She is in Folsom.
Folsom.
She's in Folsom, and we live in Davis, my family and my daughters.
And is she, I mean, she's older, but is she okay?
Yeah. She broke her hip a year ago, but she's doing good.
I know when I've been with you on several occasions, the phone rings and it's your mother, and she obviously loves and depends on you a lot.
Yeah, my brother and I take care of her. She doesn't speak English, but she's happy there. She has someone that takes care of her, and she wants to be with us.
One of the great blessings of life, I think, is to be born of a good mother. One who has your back and who nurtures you, who is still willing to discipline you if you need to be, but loves you as you are.
Yeah.
And, those kinds of things. Where will you be 10 more years from now?
It could go either way, John. It could go either way, because I usually do things that other people don't do, and that gets you into trouble. I had some difficulty with the city of Sacramento several years ago on property rights. They wanted to take my properties and give it to somebody else, and I felt that was un-American. And despite advice of all my attorneys, don't take the city on. You can't beat the city hall. I did it. I felt it was wrong, and I fought for property rights, and I prevailed. And of course now our governor has abolished redevelopment agency. So to answer the question of where would I be in 10 years, I could be in jail, or I could be praised by many, depending on how the society treats me. If the society is harsh on me and goes on with what is popular, I will be an outcast. But if the society praises me like you have done, like many other people have done, I will be prosperous.
Well, we'll hope and pray that you'll be prosperous in the next
Good
10
job,
years.
Jim.
And somebody has to carry the banner for people who can't always carry it themselves.
Really, John. And something just came to my mind, if you allow me to say. I had a friend who lived in one of these SROs downtown. He was an Irish alcoholic man. He has passed away since then. I kept telling him, Bill, you got to go to senior housing. You can't just walk on the streets. You're old. You're going to fall and die and this and that. Oh, he says, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. One day I had flu and cold, and it was getting into my lungs, and I was still working, and I'm that type of a guy. I told him, Bill, listen, I might die. I may not be there to take care of you. He shook me. He says, Mo, you can't die. What am I going to do? So that gave me the idea that we are not here just for ourselves.
But are you optimistic?
Very much, John.
Sometimes you just have to wake up in the morning, don't you, and say, you know what, I'm going to do this another day. I'm going to do this another day. Yesterday was a little discouraging, but I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this another day. And usually men of character and inner strength do that. They have and women, we talked with Sister Libby earlier, they stand up and say, you know what, I can do this another day. She said, I'm going to be at work today and probably tomorrow. After that, we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Do you get a chance to vacation, take a little time off, and just go do something that gets you away, recharge?
We do. With my wife and children, we go to Tahoe. We go overseas, of course. I've traveled a lot and things like that. But business has been occupying us a lot. And when you're successful, John, you're exchanging success for happiness, unfortunately.
That's a nice way to say that.
Yeah.
That's very wise. Is Sacramento the right, best, good place to be?
The best, John. It is the blessed city of Sacramento. And I think it's the water that is doing some good things. I've been really blessed in this city. People have been very kind.
Well, you have lots of friends.
Yeah.
You have lots of friends. Everybody knows who you are. When I started with Habitat when I first came into the Interfaith work, and we built some houses down, below Midtown there and a few things. And then as we went along and things, people said, you got to be sure to go find Mo. Go find him and talk to him. How about One of the things you do for us a lot is host, and there's always good food and there's always good ambiance and all those other things. Do you set your menus? Do you say, you know what, tonight we'd like to have Persian? Do you do that, or?
John, we are blessed that we have a division in our business. It's hospitality division. We have hall rentals, we have catering, we have chefs, we have all these things. So it's easy for me to feed, a few hundred people on a short order. And also I found out that breaking bread, meeting with people that you differ, is going to change things. I've seen that in the international arena in Washington, D.C. I've seen it at academics. I've seen it with our homeless folks. So I really believe in breaking bread, having dialogue, having food, and we are lucky that we have facilities that we can do these type of events and dialogues and things like that.
You go to the National Prayer Breakfast.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. Most people would never see the inside of that. They wouldn't know what unfolds.
Well, this is something that is really remarkable, that I've been invited to National Prayer Breakfast for the last 8 years. Catholic University, I have some very good friends at Catholic U. They invite me. And of course we have our presidents always, his wife, vice presidents, and Secretary of State. All these people are there, dignitaries from America. And then ambassadors from all over the world come there. From all over the world, maybe 150, 160 nations come. It is several days of gathering, praying, dialoguing, and then of course the real day, the breakfast, is with the president and his wife. And I've been really blessed to be there, and I have met a lot of friends, a lot of wonderful, wonderful people. They just don't pray for America, they pray for all nations, they pray for all people.
My wife and I have been traveling the world the last 10 years, mostly just as tourists. We want to go see the Great Wall, for instance. But one of the things I've noticed is we are citizens of the world. We're not just citizens of Sacramento or California or the United States. And we were in a city in China 4 or 5 years ago, and I was wearing a name badge thing that just said Mr. Fish. And a Chinese woman walked up to me and just very clearly said, "Good morning, Mr. Fish." And it surprised me. I said, "Good morning." So we talked for a minute or two. She was actually from San Francisco, but she was there visiting her grandmother. And so we talked about, well, this is interesting that we'd live 90 minutes apart, but we have to come to the other side of the earth to meet each other.
Right.
And we had a nice visit. That opened my eyes, and several other instances like that where we're citizens of the whole world, not just our local community.
Right, and John, more and more that is becoming more evident. The world has become very small. We are really, as you said, citizen of the world, and we are all really in one village. Because what I always say in America is that we came to America with different vessels, but we're all in the same boat now.
That's a nice thing to say.
And if the boat is sinking, we all have a tremendous responsibility. And I think the new Americans are going to be called upon to rescue the nation, and we are here available. So you're right. Globally, each and every one of us who come from old country are ambassador of U.S. to those nations. And we must build bridges with those countries. America has been always champion of dialogue, peace, reconciliation.
One of the faith leaders here in town told me a couple of years ago that we all live in the same house, we just came through different doors.
Yes, really, John.
And I liked that. I've stuck with that. I've shared that with a lot of people. It makes a lot of sense. We go to community events, and whereas my wife and I grew up in a little desert town of 250 Caucasian people, we go to community events here and we look around and there's all nations, kindreds, tongues, and people. I personally like that. I like that. I've got my brothers and my sisters from other countries and other things that are going on. I know that you believe strongly in education. Did you believe that when you were a child, or did you have to go through that Oxford experience? And how did you come to feel so strongly about education?
John, it's important to overcome ignorance. When you are not educated, you have a tendency to go to extremist, whether you're Muslim or whatever, and that leads into misbehaviors. So education is the key to dialogue and understanding. And then you discover values and social justice. So I think education is the core.
Do you have a favorite topic that you like to read and study about?
Well, I'm a businessman, John. I like to create value. I get a challenge of creating value, whether it is wealth or education or social justice. I just want to make some fundamental changes, and I'm very active. I'm always active.
And we should be people of value, should we not?
Yes, John. Yes.
And the value should be worthwhile and good?
Yeah, and real values, John. Not values that are measured by money, values that are measured by democracy, social justice, and things that it's measured other than just financial wealth.
Are you in good health and doing well?
Yeah, relatively, I'm very pleased.
You know, we get to our 60s and life looks a little different. As we come to an end here, let me ask you this question. If you could wave a magic wand and either make something appear or disappear or be made better or fixed or good, what would it be?
I want to be a good servant, John. I really want to be a public servant. And I have worked very hard for that. And I think serving the least of our brothers and sisters is the most important thing in my life.
Well, you're doing it well. Keep it up.
Thanks.
And thank you for being here with us. It's
Thanks,
nice
John.
to sit with you.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. God bless you. God
Thank you.
Thank you.